We're going to look at laws of detachment and syllogism in lesson 21. First, just a reminder of what deductive reasoning is. Deductive reasoning is the process of using logic to draw conclusions from given facts. And so that's what the law of detachment and syllogism will be. But for example, in deductive reasoning, just a very duh type of statement, all human beings need to breathe. Marla is a human being. This is the statement that we are given. So what is our therefore statement that we could make? Well, if all human beings need to breathe and Marla is a human being, we could say, therefore, Marla needs to breathe. And so that's kind of deductive reasoning, just kind of using that logic. Obviously, that's a given, but that is deductive reasoning. So now let's look at a type of deductive reasoning in the law of detachment. Now, law of detachment is using conditional statements. Conditional statements are if P, then Q. That's our conditional statements. So we have a conditional statement here. If a number is even, that's our P, our hypothesis, then it can be divided by 2. So there's our conclusion, Q. Then it gives us our statement. The number 104 is even. So here's the statement it says. So what is our therefore statement that we can make, or our conclusion? Well, if the conditional statement is true, and the statement is true, then we can say therefore the number 104 can be divided by 2. So that's all law of detachment is. It's really nothing complicated. I really don't need to spend any extra time on that. You're welcome to look at other examples. In example 2, that was example, what was it? That was example 2C. But you can look at the other ones if you need to understand it a little bit further. And then the last form of deductive reasoning we'll use here is the law of syllogism. Now, the law of syllogism gives 3 statements. So we call it P, Q, and R. So here's our first statement. If there is a power outage, then the freezer does not work. So that's our first conditional statement, but we're labeling the whole conditional statement as P. One statement. So if there's a power outage, then the freezer does not work. And if the freezer does not work, then the ice cream will eventually melt. So that's our Q statement. And what the law of syllogism says is P. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and look at the third one. Then it says, then if there is a power outage, then the ice cream will eventually melt. So what it's saying is, if P, then Q is true, and Q, then R is true, well then, this is actually kind of going back to the transitive property. P then Q is true, Q then R is true, therefore, our therefore statement would be P then R is true. Now I know this is a lot of letters, I'll erase these, but this is our statement that we can make. So P then Q is true, okay? Q then R is true. Look, P, Q, Q, then R. So we have if P then Q is true here. Then it says if Q then R is true. Our then or therefore statement is if P then R. And so that's all the law of syllogism is. It's really the transitive property that we've used in the past. But that is the end of lesson 21.